We tend to think of peace as just the absence of war. But what if I told you that's not even half the story? Today, we're going to dig into a really powerful idea from 1969 by a sociologist named Johan Galtung, and I promise it's going to completely change how you look at the world.
This feels right, doesn't it? It just makes sense. You can have a country with no active fighting, but the people there could still be suffering in all kinds of ways. And this simple, almost obvious idea is actually the doorway to a much, much bigger question.
So here it is. If peace isn't just about stopping the fighting, then what is it? To figure this out, Johan Galtung did something pretty brilliant. He didn't try to define peace first. He flipped the whole problem on its head. So let's start where he did. What is peace? We'll look at the simple, common answer, and then we'll see the clever little problem he found hiding inside it. Okay, so Galtung starts with a definition we can all pretty much agree on. Peace is the absence of violence. Sounds straightforward, right? But believe it or not, this one little sentence is the key that unlocks his entire way of thinking. And here's the twist. Galtung realized that this statement doesn't actually define peace at all. It just pushes the problem one step down the road. Because now you have to ask a much bigger, much trickier question. What do we actually mean by violence? And this, right here, is where Galtung's genius really kicks in. He completely redefined violence. It's not just an action. For him, violence is the gap between what is possible for us and what our reality actually is. So here's his formal definition. He says, violence is what happens when people are influenced in a way that their actual reality falls below their potential reality. Okay, that's a mouthful. Let's simplify it. Violence is the avoidable gap between what is and what could be. To make this crystal clear, he used a fantastic example. Think about this. In the 18th century, if you died from tuberculosis, it was a tragedy, for sure. But it wasn't violence because we didn't have the medical potential to cure it. But if someone dies from it today, when a cure is cheap and available, Galtung says that is violence. It's an avoidable gap between what is and what could have been. So, once you start thinking this way, you realize something huge. Violence isn't just one thing. It actually has two very different faces. There's the kind we see, and then there's the kind that's almost invisible. First up, you've got what he calls personal or direct violence. This is the stuff we all recognize instantly. A punch, a gunshot, a war. There's a clear person or group doing the harm, a clear victim, and a very visible event. It's obvious. But then we get to his most important idea, the real game changer. It's called structural violence. And this isn't an act by a specific person. It's harm that's baked right into the system itself. There's no single bad guy to point to. It's a quiet, ongoing process, woven right into the fabric of society. Galtung himself had this amazing way of putting it. He said, structural violence is silent. It does not show. It is essentially static. It is the tranquil waters. Just think about that. Personal violence is like a big, noisy storm, but structural violence is the quiet, calm water that can be just as deadly. It's the system that means one group of people has a life expectancy of 40 and another has one of 80. No shots are fired, but violence is happening. Let's put these side by side because this really drives the point home. Personal violence. His example is one husband beating his wife. It's a horrible, visible event. But structural violence? That's the system where 1 million husbands keep 1 million wives in ignorance. See the difference? There's no one person to blame, no single dramatic moment. It's just the way things are. And because of that, it can feel natural, even unavoidable. But the suffering it causes is absolutely massive. Okay, so now that we've got this bigger, more complex understanding of violence, we can finally circle back to our original question. Because if violence has two faces, well, that must mean peace has two faces too. The logic here is just, it's a perfect mirror. If you get rid of personal violence, you get one kind of peace. And if you get rid of structural violence, you get a totally different and deeper kind of peace. To get to what we might call true peace, you're going to need both. So here they are, the two sides of peace. On one hand, you have negative peace. This is what we usually think of. It's the absence of personal violence. No war, no fighting. It's a ceasefire. It's stopping the bleeding. And that is absolutely crucial. But it's not enough. The other side of the coin is positive peace. This is the absence of structural violence.
It's not just about stopping bad things from happening. It's about actively building good things. Things like social justice, inequality, and creating systems that let everyone reach their full human potential. So what's the big takeaway here? Why does this framework, which is over 50 years old, matter so much today? Well, because it gives us a complete blueprint for what it actually means to build a peaceful world. What this really shows us is that a country without a war isn't automatically at peace. Stopping the fighting, achieving that negative peace is just step one. It's the emergency room work. The real, long-term project is building positive peace. It means peace building isn't just about signing treaties. It's about the hard, messy, day-to-day work of creating a fair and just society for everyone. And all of this leaves us with a really big final question to think about. If positive peace is really the presence of social justice, if that's what we're aiming for, then it forces us to look around our own communities, our own societies, and ask, where does that real work of building peace begin?